if you make any money as a DJ, producer, or artist, then setting yourself up as a business could save you a fortune. Imagine getting 20, 30, 40% off the gear that you want to buy. Imagine having extra legal protection if you need it. Imagine saving hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars every single year. All of this is possible if you turn yourself into a business. And right now, I'm going to teach you how to do that. As a disclaimer, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. Also, your specific situation is unique to you. So please consult a professional, a lawyer, an accountant, a CPA, and ask them about your specific, unique situation. So this is not professional legal advice coming from any of those backgrounds. However, I've been teaching music business for over 10 years. I've lectured on this topic at schools like NYU and Harvard, so I'm going to give you my thoughts. Also, another disclaimer, what I'm about to teach you is mostly with the American system. However, there will be equivalents with your country and the legal systems and the tax systems probably by you as well. So hopefully similar concepts should still apply. And in a funny way, this is basically the stuff that they should teach you in high school, but they don't. But instead, they teach you about calculus, or they make you read Shakespeare and study topics that you hate. I'm really sorry about that, Mr. Davis, but I didn't enjoy it. I wish they would have taught me this stuff. If you don't know, I'm Justin, and I run a completely different type of school. I run Cosmic Academy. We're an artist development school. We've been around for over 10 years. We now have over 700 amazing artists who get incredible results. That's all we care about here is results. Our students sign to the biggest labels like Spinnin', Monstercat, Ausla, Armada. They play the biggest shows. They play Ultra, they play in Ibiza. We said 3 students play EDC. And yes, a lot of them, based on the income that they receive now, have turned DJing, producing, and being an artist as their full-time career. However, they didn't wait until the big money started coming in to do all this stuff. A lot of them took my advice and they set themselves up as a business early on. So if you're making some money every year as a DJ or a producer, whether it's $1,000, $10,000, you could start doing this now. The primary business model I'm going to suggest today is an LLC. Your country might not have that classification, but if you listen, you'll see that there's going to be something similar. And don't worry much about the definitions of LLC. It's a type of company, it's a type of business. In America, there's partnerships, LLCs, and different things. We're not going to get that deep, and for your uses, it's probably not that important right now. And once you set up your business, once you set up an LLC, you're going to start running things as follows. So I know most of you also have a regular job. At Cosmic Academy, we get 100 applicants every single week. We get thousands every single year. We hear from so many producers, so many people like yourself, and we know most of you do have some sort of regular income. You have a part-time job. You have something else going on. So let's put that over here, okay? So if you're employed somewhere, you get some kind of a salary, you work 9 to 5, that's income that's coming in over there. But if you're also getting income from DJing or producing or being an artist, and you're just lumping that in with your other income, you might actually be losing money, not saving extra money, and actually leaving yourself up to all sorts of various legal situations. What you want to do is you want to take that income from over here, and you want to separate that into an LLC, a business that's separate from the income that you make from your regular job. So instead of like a venue paying you, and you're just lumping it in with the rest of your income from your regular job, take that income into your LLC, take that income into your business. Your personal life and your DJ producer life, you want to try to be separate. The venue, the label, whoever paying you will write a check to that entity, to that business, and you'll take cash from them, check, doesn't matter. You'll put that in a bank account of that business, and we'll get to all that. Okay, so you want things to be separate. You want things to be through an LLC or a business. Why? So aside from like the organizational part of it, it's cleaner this way. Aside from that, there's many benefits. The 2 biggest reasons. Number 1, it saves you money. Number 2, it protects you legally. Here's how it saves you money. Let's pretend that you're performing, you're making money from your music, and you make $100,000 in a calendar year. And I'm just using that as a big round number because I stink with math. You as an individual, if you lump that in over here, you would have to pay a very high tax rate on that. In America, depending on what state you're in, you could be paying as much as 35, 40, 45% on that 100,000. Let's pretend that you live in New York, maybe you live in New York City, and you make the 100,000. You'd probably be paying about 40% on that. So $40,000 is gone. You're left with 60 grand and 40,000 is gone. However, let's say you set things up as a business, as an LLC. Let's pretend you also got paid that same $100,000, but through the business. Well, now when you buy things, or you get new CDJs, or you need to download a certain plugin, or buy Ableton, or get a new production computer, or maybe you had to get another cell phone for that, you can all put that as expenses for your business. Let's just use an easy number. Let's say that those expenses cost $10,000. Well, now you didn't technically make $100,000 anymore. You made $90,000 because you had $10,000 in those expenses. So now you're only going to be taxed on the $90,000. 40%, $90,000 is $36,000. So if you're keeping up with me on the math, you're going to have to pay $40,000. Now you're only going to pay $36,000. So you just saved $4,000. It's an extra $4,000 in your pocket just by setting things up differently. And you can think about this in another way. The expenses that you paid, the $10,000 on the CDJs, the plugins, the programs, all that stuff, you didn't just spend $10,000 on that. Because you're getting $4,000 back, you only spent $6,000 on that. So it's like all those things you just saved 40% on. Now, I hope that made sense. I know it was a lot of math. Now, if it didn't make sense, just quickly watch it again. It should make sense. And by the way, this is fully normal. This is how any business runs. Now, people are always upset when they find out about these big companies that don't pay so many taxes. Oh, Amazon doesn't pay that much taxes. They just do the exact same thing. There's really nothing illegal about it. They're just spending a lot of money on expenses, and that goes against the revenue that they're bringing in. You can do the exact same thing. The sad thing is that if you're a salary worker over here and you work 9 to 5, you can't always operate that way. But as a business, you can. So that's the financial benefit of it. Before I get to this next part, there's something so important right now that has to happen. I need you to smash that like button. I have no idea what it does. No one will tell me what it does. I have a hunch though. I think that it helps Chewbacca. You know Chewbacca from Star Wars? I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan. Even if you hate Star Wars, it helps him. He's a Wookiee. He needs the help. Look at all this hair. Who's gonna cut his hair? Help Chewbacca. Smash that like button. Let's talk about the legal side. And then after that, I'll show you how to set this up. Let's say on the legal side, God forbid something happens and you get sued. And in this situation, you're an individual and not a business. The person suing you or the entity suing you, if you're an individual, will be able to come after all of your individual assets, your home, your car, your savings, your bank, anything. And that's again because you're operating everything through you as an individual. But if you operate as a business, as an LLC, as one of these types of entities, they're first only be able to get to the assets that is owned by that LLC. They won't easily be able to get to your house or your car or your personal stuff like your savings. Now, yes, this can get very complicated, and by doing all sorts of legal powering, they can get great lawyers and they can eventually maybe get to you, but it'll be a lot harder. So LLCs, businesses, these entities, it's like an extra barrier. It sets up a little extra legal protection for you. And by the way, I'm not saying that you can't get sued. All I'm saying is it's better to have an LLC or a business set up kind of in front of you. God forbid that ever happens. Also, aside from just the legal stuff, but in the same topic, having an LLC or a business set up will make it easier when you want to add the manager, the agent, potential partners or investors. Speaking of partners, let's say you're in a duo right now, maybe it's a trio, there's 3 of you. You can set up an LLC to kind of manage that and separate your stake. We'll get to that in a second. The question you're probably asking yourself, how do I set up an LLC? How do I set up a business? It's actually not that complicated. What needs to be done is different paperwork needs to be filed with the state or the country that you're in, and you would typically want a lawyer to do this, but with the magic of the internet, there's plenty of services that'll do it for you. I would actually suggest using a service like LegalZoom. There's other ones like it, but you can essentially pay them like $200, $300, and a legal professional or a lawyer will handle all of it for you. They'll walk you through the process, you'll get all the documents you need, and they'll pretty much explain similar stuff that I have today. Sure, it's not that complicated, but there is a lot of this that you can do yourself. I would still say that it's probably worth $200, $300 to have a professional walk you through this. And the documentation stuff, some of the forms that you'll fill out, it won't be that complicated because at this point, you're just a single person entity. You're just this LLC, this business that does DJing or producing. So essentially you'll own all the shares, you'll own 100% of this business, and it's not going to be too complicated to set up. up. Now, if you have a duo, then yes, you would split the shares. It would be like 50-50 or maybe not. Now would be a good time to have that difficult conversation with your partner. Because trust me, those conversations are way harder down the road when you get some success. Okay, so you'll be the owner of this business. You sign the paperwork, the people will help you out on LegalZoom, whatever service you decide to use, and boom, congratulations, you have a business. But you're not done yet, because now you need a bank account. So step one, set up the LLC, set up the business, hire someone to help you do it in your state, in your country. Step two, set up a bank account. I want to be clear, you do not open up this bank account with like your personal stuff, your personal social security number. This is not an individual personal bank account. You're going to open up a bank account for your business. And businesses are given a similar version of a social security number. They call it an EIN. You're going to use that number to open up your bank account. So you get an EIN or whatever similar in your country once you set up that LLC or that business. You go into the bank, you say, hey, I've got a business. I want to open up a business account. You give them that EIN number, and there you go. You literally just started a business. I would also go further and attach a credit card to the business. You could pay for stuff with that, but don't turn this into a debt situation. Don't spend money that you don't have. Just use the credit card just for business purchases. Get your points on that card, and that makes it easy because at the end of the year, and I do something similar, you can look at the statement on that specific credit card. If you've done it right and you've only used that card for business expenses, now you know that total. I've literally been using this system for the last 17 years. I have my personal card that I use for food and groceries and going out to eat with my friends. Then I have my business card, and that's the one I use for all business expenses, paying for this light to set up this video for you today, paying for things having to do with the school, like the Zoom account we use to put in our classes. All of those things are business expenses. And at the end of the year, I give those statements to my accountant, and we look at the total amount we brought in, and that's how we do the taxes. So it's no different for you. And yes, I would always suggest getting an accountant, and that's one of those expenses that should pay for itself. Maybe you're not making enough money yet to afford one. So in that case, if your profits are pretty minimal, I would suggest just using something like TurboTax Online. Like I said before, it's not that complicated. Like imagine you made $10,000 through your business for your DJing and producing for the whole year, but you had $4,000 of expenses. You bought gear, you got yourself the lights, the camera, certain things for your promoting. Instead of paying taxes on the $10,000, you'll actually pay taxes on $6,000. $10,000 minus the $4,000 in expenses. And if your tax rate was, let's say, 30%, instead of paying $3,000 in taxes, you'll pay $1,800, and you just saved over $1,000 for setting yourself up the right way. Now look, this is the most basic setup, and this is also the most basic information. Now, I don't want to complicate things with trademarking and copywriting and all this extra legal stuff. There's different LLCs, there's S Corps. I don't want to get complicated. This is where you start. This is where you begin. If you want me to do more videos on topics like this, let me know in the comments. I just felt like, I never seen these kind of videos for DJs, for producers, for artists, and I was like, this is very important information. I should put this out. And by the way, if you've been sitting here this whole time and I'm just like annoying you and hurting your brain with legal and accounting stuff, and you want to get back into the music, here's an amazing video that Zach just made on that sort of stuff, the music and the creativity. Get that part of your brain going again. We'll see you in that one.